The time for action has arrived.
By now, everyone knows, since it happened a day ago, the announcement that Colin Powell, former United States Army soldier who made up to 4 stars, making 4-star general, becoming the first African-American chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, then the first African-American Secretary of State during the Bush administration, has passed away through complications of COVID-19. More on that in a few minutes. The overwhelming respect I have for this man, the overwhelming respect I have for him is beyond measure in my view. The character, honor, commitment, and service that this man showed in his life speaks volumes, especially now, particularly now, when service to country is seen as weakness by people on the other side. More on that in a few minutes. But right now, Mr. Powell's death is being jumped on and being taken advantage of by the hysterical alt-right, by the media, and by you-know-who. Donald Trump decided to create this statement on his website saying, and I quote, let me get my voice ready. "Wonderful to see Colin Powell, who made big mistakes on Iraq and famously so-called weapons of mass destruction, being treated in death beautifully by the fake news media. Hope that happens to me someday. He was a classic rhino," that's Republican in name only. "If even that, always being the first to attack other Republicans. He made plenty of mistakes, but anyways, may he rest in peace." You braggadocious, dishonorable bastard. How dare you? You can't even show respect for a man who served this nation? And you wonder why people like me have no respect for you, Trump. But let's break this down, shall we? Iraq? I'm guessing you're talking about the first Iraq war during the first Bush administration. But the so-called weapons of mass destruction, here's the thing about that. He went to the UN and said, we got it wrong, we made a mistake. He was the only person I know at that point who took responsibility for the failures in the second Iraq war. Bush didn't take any responsibility. The war hawk Dick Cheney didn't. But being treated so fairly, so beautifully by the fake news media, what the hell is wrong with you? This man did more in the 83 years of life in one time than you ever done in your whole life. All you've done in your whole screwed up, misspent life, Trump, is try to scam people out of money. That's your whole forte. That's who you are. That's always have you been who you are. You don't know about service to country. Hell, you ridiculed your brother, your younger brother, because he wanted to serve in the military and the Air Force. You ridiculed him. So don't start talking about who deserves fair treatment by who or what. And as for him being a rhino, he stopped, and this is directly from him, he stopped being a Republican on January 6, 2021. You know that day, right? When you pushed your supporters to attack the U.S. Capitol? And as for him attacking other Republicans, I would ever take my cues as a Republican. If I were a Republican, I would take my cues from him. Being a former 4-star general, serving this nation in peace and in war. Then taking advice from someone like you, someone like Ted Fled Cruz, someone like Lauren Boebert, someone like Mo Brooks, and definitely that tart, Marjorie Taylor Greene. And yeah, he made plenty of mistakes. And he owned up to those mistakes, something you don't know a damn thing about. But it's just, It's just a symptom of the problem. Donald Trump needs to be the center of attention. Otherwise, he'll break like glass. That's who he is. He's a child. He'll always be a child. But it also bothers me that many of the anti-vaxxers out there are jumping on the death of Colin Powell as we got you, see, see? The vaccines don't work. They don't mean shit. They know nothing. They know nothing. Case in point, Fox News. And I wish I did not have to talk about this clown. I wish I did not. But of course, I'm talking about Tucker Carlson, the KKK Grand Dragon wannabe, the asshole who keeps screaming out nonsensical conspiracy theories. He jumps on the bandwagon of the vaccines don't work. In his show, the day of the announcement that Colin Powell passed away. Listen to this.
Unbelievable. A lot has changed in the years since, and that's one of the reasons that Colin Powell's death tonight is so poignant. Like almost everyone his age, Colin Powell was fully vaccinated against COVID. And yet, according to his family and doctors, Colin Powell died of COVID. Of course, that fact does not make his death any less sad, nor is it unusual. Many thousands of vaccinated Americans have died of COVID. Former CDC Director Robert Redfield announced just today that about 40% of all recent COVID deaths in the state of Maryland, for example, are among those who've had both shots. So what does that tell you exactly? Well, it tells you you've been lied to. Vaccines may be highly useful for some people, but across a population, they do not solve COVID. That's not speculation. It is an observable fact. People who've been fully vaccinated can still get the virus, they can still transmit the virus to others, and they can still die from COVID. Colin Powell is hardly the only example of that. So the question is, why are they telling us otherwise? And the answer is simple. They're telling us that to divide us from each other, to set the country against itself.
Wow. Just wow. I mean, I really don't know where to start with this shit. I really don't. I for the life of me, don't know where to start with this. You celebrate this death, saying, guess what? The vaccines don't work. What kind of monster are you to celebrate the death of a person? Because in your mind, they prove that their death proves that what you've been saying on television is true, which is not. But what kind of monster would you have to be to do that? Obviously, we know Tucker Carlson's type of monster. But here's the thing. I would give him credit because later on before his show ended, he put a little snippet about mentioning that he had Parkinson's and cancer. I'll give him, no, I'm not giving him credit. I'm just going to show the clip and I'm just going to rip his ass later on. Take a look at this.
So at the beginning of the show, we told you about Colin Powell. We left out that Colin Powell was suffering from a number of different health problems. But of course, that's the point. The point of vaccinating the vulnerable is so people with other underlying health problems won't die of COVID. But unfortunately, that didn't work in the case of General Powell, and it didn't work for many thousands of other Americans. And of course, that's the point we're making in the first place.
That's it. You just did a quick 25-second spiel about him having cancer, having other issues. You didn't name the issues. But what really bothers me about this whole thing is that you're jumping on the death of Colin Powell as a gotcha moment. Got him. That is sick in my eyes. That is just evil. No, yeah, it's evil in my eyes. The vaccines do work. They're not 100%. Now, this is the point I'm trying to make on this. If you're hesitant about the vaccines, that's one thing. Talk to doctors, not to clowns like this, who are exploiting the death of Colin Powell as another segment of I hate the vaccines. I'm not going to take them, and neither should you. That is dangerous. But it seems to me that these people, Tucker Carlson, the rest of Fox News, which brings up Will Cain at Fox News. Now, what you're about to see are clips just minutes after the news broke that Colin Powell had passed away. They couldn't even wait 24 hours. They couldn't even wait 24 hours after his body was cold to get on the anti-vaxxer train wagon. Take a listen to this.
There will be many conversations in the wake of this death. There will be honoring this man, this public servant, this human being who was a professional soldier for 35 years. We can reflect on his life, and we should. There will also be conversations about the fact that he was fully vaccinated, according to his family, and he died from complications from COVID. We're seeing data from Europe, from the United Kingdom, that fully vaccinated people are being hospitalized and fully vaccinated people are dying from COVID. And here we have a very high-profile example that is going to require more truth from our government, from our health leaders as well, as we talk about this story on a day when state after state and institution after institution are pushing mandates for vaccination.
You spent only 10 seconds talking about the man. Will Cain only spent barely 10 seconds talking about the man, Colin Powell, what he was, what he did, how he served this nation. This nation these right-wing nut jobs claim to love. The rest of the time, it's all anti-vaccines. It's all anti-vaxxers. And he honestly isn't the only one at that point. Another Fox freak, John Roberts, decided to tweet this. The fact that Colin Powell died from a breakthrough COVID infection raises new concerns about how effective vaccines are long term. We already know you're an asshole, Roberts. And obviously you know you're an asshole too, otherwise you wouldn't have deleted that Twitter post and said this and try to give a half-assed explanation as to why. He tweeted this on his response. I deleted my Twitter about the tragic death of Colin Powell because many people interpret it as anti-vax, which it was not. Yes, it was, asshole, and you know it. I was excited to get the vaccine, hoping it would speed a return to normal life. I also did a PSA on Fox encouraging vaccinations for those able. And we all know that the FDA is now recommending boosters for certain people, and I personally know a number of people who have breakthrough infections, some of them quite troubling. Yes, Powell had melanoma, a form of cancer, but was still stunned to hear his passing from COVID. You are not a medical doctor. No one working for Fox are medical doctors because obviously you don't pay attention to the science. So stop acting like you are. Stop pretending that you are. And for you to use Colin Powell, and I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say this, and I really don't care how it makes me sound. On behalf of Colin Powell, his family, the people he inspired, and there are millions of us out there, not just Black African Americans, all of us as Americans. To everyone who served under his various commands, to the people he advised and touched and continued to touch with his inspiration, you, Fox News, you, Tucker Carlson, you, Will Cain, you, John Roberts, and especially you, Donald John Trump, can go straight to hell and try to reform things down there with the devil. Because we're doing good regardless of the nightmare people like you, all of you, and so many others want to give us. And despite all those nightmares, we're doing just as well without you here on God's great earth. And quite honestly and quite frankly, I make no apologies for what I say. How much of a monster, how evil do you have to be in order to use the death of a person in order to further your agenda. An agenda that is killing more Americans than it's saving. We're seeing perfect examples of evil right here, right now. Fox News needs to be shut down. Donald Trump needs to walk away. And until they do, I'm going to continue to speak out against them both. Consequences be damned. CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.